You know what? Critical race theory, social emotional learning, diversity, all that kind of stuff, all those things that they talk about on talk radio all the time, they're definitely not in your school. Not here in Alabama.
Never.
Well, maybe.
Never.
They are. Actually, they are. And you're going to want to hear about it today. There's no doubt about it. You need to hear about it because it's in your kids' schools. We're literally debating that it's bad that people get to say what they think.
Can you imagine? I'm reading Psalm 144 and it says, He trains my hands for war.
We are on the brink of total destruction of America as we know it.
Let your rebel flag fly.
Welcome into this week's edition of Alabama Unfiltered. I am one of your hosts, and we have a couple others, Amy Beth Shaver and Allison Sinclair. Ladies, how are y'all?
We are good.
I didn't even have to look at the note. Do you want to tell everybody that I write it down just to make 100% sure?
I've always joked that he had to write our names down every time because he gets out this little yellow pad and he never writes but like one or two things. So today I actually took a picture with my phone because he wrote Amy Beth Shaver and Allison Sinclair. Just in case. I mean, we've been doing this almost a year.
If something happens and I have some kind of brain spasm, I'll remember.
You're not that old.
There are times when I think of other names for you. Not so much for Amy Beth, but I think something.
You want to call me other
Yes,
things?
so I have to look down and it says stick with Allison.
You still
That's what it says.
Spelled Amy Beth's name wrong.
It's a Y now.
It's supposed to be an IE.
You were right the first time.
I was right the first time. See?
Anyway.
Go with your gut.
He's just old.
Phonetically,
He's
it's correct.
Old.
Ladies. Well, other ladies, how are you?
Good.
Good. Pat Ellis is with us. Pat, how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Fantastic. Are you wishing or wondering now why you came at all?
Well, I think you kids have a lot of fun. I think I need to come more often.
This is good.
Oh, young people, try to control yourselves.
Maturity, couldn't we?
Oh, so what's the game plan today? How have things been going? Dying.
You okay?
How have things been going?
He's so excited to be back with us. He's all choked
He really is.
You mean just like in life?
Yes. How are you doing? Well, some of us have been gone watching ball games and stuff like that. And
yeah, fill us in on Merritt. What's she doing?
Okay, so the NCAA tournament for volleyball is 64
I knew that's
teams.
what you actually want to talk about.
That's why I've got the Florida shirt on today. Just like basketball, and the Florida Gators are in the Sweet 16. They play in Wisconsin on Thursday.
Go Gators.
And then if they win that, they play Saturday night. It's on ESPNU, by the way, so if people want to watch.
But you still, even if it's at night, you can still come to the Christmas party.
Come to your house Christmas party.
Yeah.
Although there is a game on in the afternoon that we'll be watching.
Yes, we're watching. 2:30.
We do have a TV. We can turn it on.
Can you also then, after that's over, turn the TV on? Well, actually, we'll play again for Saturday.
Is Will playing Thursday?
They play Saturday.
Okay.
Chris told me, he just tells me when to turn the TV on. That was for Saturday.
Okay.
Just kidding.
So if we win Thursday, we'll be playing Saturday.
Okay, well, we'll watch both.
Okay, we'll do that. Hey, you know how long it's going to take me to get from God's country to down where you live?
It's North Shelby County. It's
God's
country.
It's not going to take you that long, like 22 minutes.
It might be because of 5 o'clock traffic.
Yes, it could be rough. So I need to leave early?
You can come early.
Okay.
You can come early and help me set
She's
up.
fun.
I really had no idea it was at your house.
You had no idea there was even a party.
No, I heard there was probably a party. But
Pat,
I didn't know where it
Oh,
was.
really? Okay.
Right.
Well, I'm glad I came today.
Yeah,
Yes.
this should be fun.
We are all, however many up, 40-something are on the list.
40-something people?
Yes.
Will there be
It's
food?
the
People wanna
1819
meet
News
you.
Christmas party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you gotta come. This is gonna
I
be
get
fun.
to meet your husband? Figure out who picked you?
You're going to like... He's special.
He's a missionary.
He's special. Bless his heart. He's special. And he wonders every day, why did I pick her?
What the heck have I done?
No, you'll love Jared. He's so much
I'm
fun.
sure.
He's
I
a great
bet.
guy.
I bet.
You need to come.
That's awesome.
If
I'm gonna
not,
try to.
we'll
I
talk
think so.
about you.
Yeah, please bring Lori. We want to
She's
meet
gonna
her.
be she's gonna be in Wisconsin.
Oh, well,
watching
of course
Mary.
she is.
I'll stay
You go,
here to
Lori.
keep the home fires.
Have a
burning,
great
apparently.
trip.
So how's basketball? You
It's
were
going well.
traveling everywhere
We
for
were
basketball.
traveling. You know what? UNC started out well. We're in a little bit of a slump, but we were last year at this time as well.
I was going to say.
I mean,
Start
out slow.
you know, now that I am I'm a regular basketball mom. I would say that I'm not worried about the boys. I think the pressure of starting out number one, like you were
that's
saying,
big. That's tough.
listening to their coaches saying, don't listen to the noise. I mean, it's great life advice, right? Don't listen to the noise. Just do your thing and it'll work out. But you've got to give 100% every time. And what's happening also, my husband has noticed, and you said as well, is that everybody is bringing their best every time.
Oh, absolutely.
Like their statistics for that game will be bonkers. And then the next game, it'll go back to he scored
It's annoying.
2 points.
Isn't it annoying?
Yeah, it's annoying. And yet you kind of are in awe because you think this is great basketball.
Right.
I mean, like to go to Indiana, I was sad we lost, but have you been in the Scott Center up there before?
No, I have not.
In the
It was probably packed
something
out too,
field
wasn't
house. It was insane.
Right.
I never take video, but I took video and I was like, this is
It really is crazy. So the place was packed
ridiculous.
out, right?
It was packed out. Everybody's giving their best. A lot of life lessons. You know, you want to sit there and write down all these things because you're thinking, wow, this is like transferable.
Right. Did
That's
you?
good.
So you're going to write an article about it?
Probably.
I figured you would. I
Probably.
could hear her
but
thinking.
good people, just really good people, good families. Got to know everybody really well, which I know.
Oh, were you getting to meet all the other parents?
Yeah, I
and
got
stuff
to
like
meet all
that?
the
It is
other
cool.
parents.
Yeah.
I love the parents. Really good
There's
men and
There's got to
women.
be at least one crazy one, though.
You know what? There are not crazy
Really?
ones.
Not
I haven't
crazy?
seen.
Just a little
Maybe
You
I'm
You
the
could
crazy
be.
Yeah.
one.
Look, if you're with the group of parents and
I
you don't know
could
the
be
crazy
the
parent,
crazy
you're the
person.
crazy parent.
I'll have
Yes.
to ask. Y'all can vote on that. Are you the crazy parent?
That's a good chance. Good chance. Yeah.
I like that you own that.
Right. I
You
don't
know,
have
it's
any
our
problem with
kids.
that.
It's
Right.
our it's our heart. They're on the floor, and they're like doing their best, and they're growing up in front of everybody. It's kind of a hard thing to do.
It is. It's tough. It's fun.
So-
it's tough.
Well, speaking of crazy parents, that's why Pat is here, right?
Yes.
It's a crazy
And
parent.
that is
Yeah.
how it's done, ladies and gentlemen.
Very good job.
Transition.
And I have nowhere to go after that. I'm going to pitch it back to Amy Beth.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about CRT, SEL, Common Core. We're very familiar with it because we have kids in the school system. But you have a very interesting story because you started out as a parent and then it grew from there. So I think, first of all, it's instructive. Your Genesis story, like where it started and where you are now, because I think people so often feel helpless and they don't know what to do and they're waiting for a sign from God. This is your sign
Oh, thank you.
that we can
That's
get
quite a
involved.
compliment.
This is your sign.
That's quite a compliment.
We can get involved and learn from Pat because she has a lot
Very
to
good.
say. She's done a lot of work. And so could you just tell us your story
Well, thanks.
and then take us on a journey?
Thank you, Amy Beth. I'd be happy to. Well, it was a wild ride, I can tell you that. It started at the sixth grade classroom in Jasper, ended up with a U.S. Senate hearing. I met Ralph Nader, Phyllis Schlafly, Heather Whitestone, Gary Palmer along the way. Oh, Ralph Reed, I have to tell you about that. That was very unhappy. But what happened was my sixth grade son came home from school and said he thought the United States ought to legalize drugs.
Now, what year was this? How far
This
back
was in 1994.
Okay.
And I said, what in the world gave you that idea? He said, school. He said he watched a Jocelyn Elders video, when Clinton was in office, saying that we ought to
Jocelyn.
legalize drugs. And he knew exactly why we should, because we cut down on drug wars. It would generate tax revenue. So he was convinced. I went to the school, talked to the teacher. She said, Pat, I can't do anything. We get free TVs. They want this program. It was a 12-minute news program with 2 minutes of commercial.
Was that Channel 1?
Channel 1.
Channel
Very
One.
good.
remember
Scott.
Channel 1.
Did you have it? Did you have
Yeah,
Channel 1?
or our school had Channel 1,
Okay.
yes.
Well, anyway, she said, please do something about it. She said, some of the teachers like it, some don't. So I went to the school board and, they wanted to keep it. So I got a petition up and I had a lot of people sign it. A lot of friends helped. We went back to the school board. The newspaper was there, standing room only. We presented our petition, and the next thing we know, they said, we're pulling it. We've generated a lot of publicity, so the next thing, Walker County pulled it. Then I heard from Shelby County, they wanted us to make a presentation there. We did a lot of op-eds, too, in between. Birmingham News did a great op-ed, full page in the middle section on a Sunday paper.
Wow.
With
For
a
the old
picture of,
days.
and they'd put the graphics in. I just wrote the op-ed, and they had a big picture of Britney Spears doing a commercial because she did a commercial on Channel 1. But anyway, so we go to Shelby County, and thanks to Bill Armistead, he was a big help in getting that going. Channel 1 got wind of it. They sent their executive vice president down to debate with us. We said our side, he said his side, and then a fellow named Trey Ireland had done a lot of homework. He went to channel1.com. He saw that they had links to pornography. You go from channel1.com and you just click a little bit and you go to, lesbian love, all kinds of
This was
sexual
1994?
activity.
94.
94, 95. Well, then,
Wow.
I forgot to mention, Eagle Forum was a big part of this, and I'm a board member. But along the way, a gentleman named Jim Metrock had a program started a business called Obligation Inc. It was a child advocacy group. So I met with him. He put there was an article in the paper about him. I wrote him a note and I said, "Wow, thanks for doing this." He was attacking MTV. He was attacking, the magazines and the checkout that Cosmopolitan with all kinds of sex. And so he said, "Would you help me?" And I said, "Well, let's meet." I brought him my Channel One stuff. He said, "Oh my gosh, this is worse than what I'm doing because it's in the classroom and the schools are implicitly endorsing everything."
Right.
So anyway, we got together. He started generating some publicity as well. When we went to Shelby County, Paul Folcomer was there. He was the EVP. And Trey Ireland held his feet to the fire because he got up there and he said, "Well, Mr. Folcomer, you said you vet everything. How come there's this link to this lesbian website? How come there's this link to this pornography?" Well, he went home with his tail between his legs. Then we got Senator Shelby involved. Gary Palmer was involved, wrote a great article. He was syndicated then. Ralph Reed, I wrote him a letter. He had left the Christian Coalition and then had Century Strategies in Atlanta. He was a lobbyist for Channel One.
Oh.
So when this Senate hearing hit, when Shelby said, he was going to have a Senate hearing, Ralph Reed got Heather Whitestone to write a letter to Atlanta Journal-Constitution, happened to read it on the plane ride up to Washington.
Right.
He got Judson Smith from Promise Keepers. He got Traditional Values Coalition.
To all say it's good.
To all say it was good, to send out postcards all over Alabama
Right.
saying that it was good and cut down on drugs and, gave good messages to the kids.
Now, my question is real quick. I got to break in. So
Sure.
my guess is those people were writing it because Ralph said this is good.
Exactly.
So that he was.
Exactly.
So they had no clue, really.
He was using his reputation
using
from being
his
at Christian Coalition.
Which was so
do that.
sad. And I didn't talk to her, but Jim Metrock talked to Heather Whitestone at some point, and she said she was sorry. She didn't know. She was just following,
Right.
what he said. But, a lot, when I was doing this in Jasper and even Walker County and Shelby County, we didn't have tape one. We just had anecdotal information from teachers and students. So anyway, after, the Shelby County thing, we got on AFA Radio, American Family Association. That was in Tupelo. And a lady in Pennsylvania was the chapter leader in Pennsylvania. And she said she wanted to meet with us. She got tapes for us because it was proprietary. You couldn't get tapes. She had a friend who was a librarian at a Pennsylvania high school. And she got the tapes for us. She took them out of the classroom or out of the school, met this friend in a parking lot, and then she mailed tapes to us every week. So that's when things took off. That's when Ralph Nader, that's when Phyllis Schlafly
That's
got
bravery.
involved.
That is.
Yeah,
And they
that
knew
was.
they were saying this is proprietary. You can't
Yeah,
have copies.
yeah, absolutely. Well, we never revealed their name, of course.
Well, of course not.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying the Channel One people knew
Yeah.
what they were doing, and they knew it was stuff that needed to be hidden. Wow, that's amazing.
Well, I'll tell you, Eagle Forum, started, Uni Smith invited me to speak to their group in Birmingham. Then Phyllis Schlafly invited me to speak to the national group. And things just took off at that point. And then Ralph Nader, like I said, got involved. And they even did an article. I had a picture of Ralph Nader and Phyllis Schlafly together, cartoon figures. It said Left, Right, Romance. And it was all about, the fact that the two of them came together from opposite poles.
Right.
I remember sitting behind Phyllis in the hearing, and Ralph Nader walks in and kind of looking around. And Phyllis said, "Oh, Ralph, you can sit next to me. I don't bite." And, that was kind of cute.
Right.
But it was a, interesting time. Channel One is gone now. I mean, it took years. What happened was, as the advertisers found out the schools were dropping out and they were losing the eyeballs, they were losing ad revenue. So when that happened, Channel One started losing money, and they finally folded in 2018. It took a while.
It took all the way to 2018.
It took all the way to 2018. I was out of Alabama well before then, but for every state to end. But after that came bus radio. Bus radio wanted to put radio ads in school buses. So with that conglomeration of people we worked with, I didn't mention Commercial Alert, but they were helpful too. We all got together and got on bus radios, train and told them, don't go there. Then ZapMe came up. ZapMe wanted to do computer commercials. They were already in some schools.
So they'll give you a free computer.
Exactly.
Oh, we need a computer everywhere.
If you watch the ads. So those things are gone. And it was because all of these groups of people came together and attacked it, head on, all together, of like minds. And that's what we have to do with this next group of garbage, SEL, CSC, DEI, CRT.
All right, so as we start talking about these things that are, I guess, reiterations of older stuff, when you started doing this, 94, 95, what was the response? Because I think it's important for us to realize it. What was the response from legislators who, in my opinion, usually wait until the public's decided this has got to go?
Are you talking state level?
Yes, state level, before they decide, oh yeah, I'm against that. Did they hook on to this quickly? The legislators in your area, did you talk to any of them? I mean, were they like, yeah, we got to put a stop to this, or did they let y'all do all the work?
Really, we didn't get the legislators involved. We were trying to go to basically school by school and have word of mouth. Parents were what did it. Because when they started finding out what actually was being shown, and I know your viewers can't see this, but I put together one of these for each of you. This is some of the information we used, and I want to do a handout like these for CRT, SEL, DEI. The whole shebang.
Just a quick glance, and I'm terrified.
Well, it was bad stuff. It was, and kids, this was part of their popular culture. They didn't know any different that, it wasn't right for it to be in the schools. It was implicitly endorsing, the schools were. Right. And that's one of the arguments I used. I said, look, you are implicitly endorsing all these awful things, including Marilyn Manson CDs.
Oh, my word.
Now, they didn't play the explicit lyric CDs. They played clean CDs, but it was from explicit lyric recording artists.
This is like I can't even read some of this stuff out loud.
No, you can't. And that's the same thing with what we're getting ready to get into.
Is it okay if we screenshotted it and put it up in show notes for the viewers?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. Be
I'll
delighted.
get this to Ashley and make sure that
it really is
goes
amazing.
up.
And you think about, okay, say we decided, we're going to provide TVs, we want to have, and we're going to sell commercials, and basically we're going to have, a captive audience. I get that as an idea, but I mean, they were definitely into the messaging.
I mean, they're talking about a movie called Monkey Bone, which the movie name is slang for penis. Okay, I can't even read the next sentence.
I know. Wow.
Okay, anyway. Yeah, I mean, there's no why,
Right.
And do y'all remember who like the first personality, the two first personalities were for Channel 1?
One of the girls that ended up on
Lisa Ling.
Who was that?
Do you remember the other one?
Were y'all in school when this was there?
No, but I remember her because I was
you were following
in
Pat, but
school
you were in
stuff.
school.
I was in
You were
school.
like a third grader.
Yeah, Anderson Cooper.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, but
Which is funny.
Isn't he the super rich lady's son though?
Gloria
He's a
Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt.
Yeah,
But I mean, it
They have a
all
little
kind of
house,
makes sense.
like in
seeing
North
it,
Carolina
like
somewhere.
you should have known.
And
Anyway.
by the way,
Wow.
we have CNN 10 in classrooms now.
Okay.
No commercials.
Awesome.
No commercials. But it does implicitly endorse CNN, when you're shown in the classrooms.
Right.
And it also builds the brand in these kids' minds. So when they leave school, what are they
That's-
going to be watching? CNN.
Absolutely.
So did you kind of have a break between the years because now you're full force? How did you get kind of roped or,
You wrote back in.
Ro- back in.
I really got involved with Eagle Forum after that because they were such a huge help. And they continue to do a lot of the state level. You know that, Scott. I know we've contacted you a lot back in the day. And then I was education director for Obligation Inc. I went to work for Congressman Adderholt along the way and dealt with education issues, but I kept my finger in what was going on in the culture, what was going on in schools. And that's where we are today. I'm just so upset with what's going on in the schools. And, speaking for myself and Eagle Forum, we want to treat everyone kindly, but we don't expect our schools to teach kids about transgender, about gender fluidity, about, calling one child a racist just because they're white,
Right.
another child a victim just because they're black. And I have a great video that I show with Condi Rice about CRT. And I sent one to you. Did you watch it?
Yes.
Wasn't
I
that the
love it.
best?
It's just the
But I
best.
have one video with Condi Rice. She's on The View.
Okay.
And she says, she had quite a few things to say, but one thing that stuck with me, she said, making white children feel bad about their race does not help Black children achieve. And you could hear a pin drop in that studio. You had Whoopi Goldberg and the crew.
Oh my God.
Right.
But when I make my presentations, I show that for sure. And the one that I showed Amy Beth, which I hope you all will watch sometime, is so heartwarming. You want to tell about it?
It is. It's that clip that you may have seen it, of a father and his daughter, and she's very young, and they're talking about why they believe in everybody and why it's just so darling.
Yes,
The
it's gone
father-
viral in the last
It's gone
few weeks.
viral, and the
Yes.
dad is with a little girl, and it's just precious talking
Yeah, it's-
about
it's-
why
it's
they're
strong.
against CRT and why he'll never teach it to his daughter. It's
Right. It's
fabulous.
really,
It's like
really
1 minute.
good.
It's fabulous.
Can we put links to things like that?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
We can.
Well,
Okay.
I'll get that
Figured
linked
you
up.
probably can do both of those. Good.
Yes. Welcome to a year later. Scott's catching up.
Way to
I'm
go,
just
Scott.
making sure y'all could.
So what is going on in our schools?
Oh,
What are
gosh,
you
Alice.
finding?
Because it's not
Gosh.
happening in my schools. That's the thing. It's
it's
not.
hap-
It's not in my
yeah, it
schools.
doesn't touch
way. Our people
I'm in
are too
Alabama
sweet.
and
Oh wait, do we need to take a break?
church affiliated, and I don't know. Do you want to take a break and listen to one of our sponsors?
Sorry, before we jump into this, we have to take a break for
That's a
one
good
of our
tease.
sponsors.
I like how you did that.
Yeah, and so
Fantastic.
stick with us. We're going to hear from one of our sponsors. We'll be right back.
What's up, guys? Brian Dawson, CEO of 1819 News here. I want to take a minute to tell you about my good friends over at Centurion Labs. Cold weather is here, and you know what that means. Colds, the flu, and coronaviruses are running rampant. Your immune system needs protection, and that's why I love what my friends over at Centurion Labs are doing. They're always looking for safe, effective, affordable ways to keep you healthy and at your best. Got a cough, sore throat, or a runny nose? You need to check out their Ninja Cough product. You heard me, Ninja Cough. It contains the strongest non-narcotic cough suppressant on the market with no sugar, alcohol, or dyes. So it's safe for everyone, even your kids. Looking to strengthen your immune health, prevent sickness, or fight off the flu, and of course, coronaviruses? Defender Immunity Boost is for you. It is an all-in-one immunity booster that combines vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, copper, and quercetin in just one pill to save you money and help defend your health. Having trouble sleeping? Defender PM is a nighttime immunity booster that will help you get rest and boost your immune health. Now is the time to defend your health, save money, and support a company that shares your Christian values and loves this country. Centurion has dedicated the last 15 years to research and develop safe, effective, and affordable products made in the USA that you can trust. For a limited time, listeners of this podcast can get 20% off their first bottle order when you visit centurionlabs.com/1819news and use the promo code 1819. That's centurionlabs.com/1819news with the promo code 1819. Check them out, guys.
Okay, welcome back to Alabama Unfiltered. We are talking to Pat Ellis about what in the world is happening in our schools. And like it or not, she's got lots of information for us. Some of it, I'm guessing, is going to be kind of hard to hear, but we need to hear it because I think parents need to understand the reality. We're so checked out, many of us, and I think COVID opened our eyes as we're sitting next to our kids doing work on the laptop. I know I saw some things that I was astonished by, and that's really when I started waking up to that, like, okay, we're not in the 80s anymore, which I almost said 90s, but 90s apparently
We were off the
just
rails
as
in the
bad.
90s.
Yeah, who knew? So what is happening?
Okay. Well, Allison, I'd like to start out with just reading a portion of an email that a mother sent to me. I'm hearing from teachers and parents anonymously. I mean, I know who they are, but they asked me not to reveal their name or their school because, they're protective of their school and their children, which is understandable. But I think this mother says pretty much in a nutshell what's going on. This was an email she sent to her school. We unfortunately learned last year that many teachers believe it is now their responsibility to teach our children values rooted in the world. For example, engaging pronoun discussions, one-sided presentation of political views, worldly sex education, and disparaging white, Christian, Southern men as intrinsically racist. My daughter is confused, as that includes her father, her brother, and her grandfather. And this is going on in Birmingham area school. That's where that parent is. The 90-pound gorilla or the monster in the classroom is the Alabama School Counselor, the American School Counselor Association modeling plan. It is aligned, or Alabama is aligned with that. It's on the ALSDE website, Alabama State Department of Education website. It's 90 pages. That is the monster in the classroom. Its tentacles are CRT, critical race theory. I'm sorry, your audience may not be aware. Critical race theory, social emotional learning, comprehensive sex education, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. And what they're doing is they're shaping our kids' values and their beliefs, and they're doing it incrementally. The early years, they introduce certain competencies. There are 123 of them. In the middle years, they reinforce those competencies. And in the high school, they want those competencies mastered. And just to give you one example, on page 19 of this counseling document on our Alabama website, it tells children in K through 2, it teaches them to recognize and respect different family configurations, which means 2 mommies, 2 daddies, 2 dads from, I won't say the area, but Birmingham area, not the school. They said that their children came home, kindergartners now, saying, oh, you can have 2 mommies or 2 daddies. And they contacted one of our Eagle Forum members and told them that. So, it's very sad. And I have a lot of sympathy for the teachers because I've heard from teachers that don't want to teach this. Some of them just buck the system, and they don't teach it. But some are. And you know as well as I do, there are a lot of zealots now coming out of our universities. They have been trained and brainwashed in gender fluidity and CRT, in a lot of the anti-religious things that are happening in the schools now.
Yeah, and they're passionate. When you say zealot, you're absolutely right.
They are passionate.
Will, even if the rules were the other side and flipped around and said, do not teach these things, those zealots absolutely are going to.
To give you a really good example on critical race theory, Howard Zinn, who was a Marxist, you may be familiar with him, he has what's called the Howard Zinn Project. Now, he's deceased, but the project lives on. 12 teachers in Alabama publicly signed a declaration that the United States is systemically racist and that they will teach critical race theory even if it is banned by law. Now, the State Department of Education passed a resolution against critical race theory, but it has no teeth. So these teachers are still teaching, and their names are out there. I don't know if the State Department of Education has done anything about it. We sent them, Eagle Forum sends them a lot of information. But anyway.
Let me ask you this, because there's so many things to ask about and talk about. When you think about the State Department of Education, I get the feeling at times, and you could tell me I'm completely wrong, that they will do things like pass a resolution or say, hey, you don't need to be doing this, and then never back it up. They almost cater to the public, cater to the parents. Oh, yeah, well, we know this is going, we're going to stop it. It's almost like the State Department of Public Health when it was supposed to be overseeing abortion clinics. They could do anything,
whatever they wanted.
Anything wrong. There might be a report written, but the crackdown never occurred. And I get the feeling in the education community, we get a lot of lip service for, oh yeah, we know that. We'll put a stop to that. Let me make a note of that. Oh yeah, I got it.
That's
and
Alabama politics
and they just
in
kind
general.
of let it keep going.
Yeah.
No, I agree. It's politics in general, but I just feel like where somebody can put a stop to these things.
But they don't want to.
They don't want to.
That's what I'm thinking.
Until the lights really shined on them.
Because for the longest time, I thought maybe they just don't know, like in terms of our leadership and our elected officials or appointed officials. I just don't think that can be the case anymore. So the only logical conclusion is that this is what they want in our schools.
Well, in all fairness to the Alabama State Department, the state board members, a lot of this is local control. Like Second Step, Leader in Me, and a lot of the SEL programs, it's the local districts that are partnering with these companies and paying, for them to be in their classrooms. So
But when
they don't
but
have
when
as much
Common Core
authority.
came down the road, they didn't want the locals to have local control.
Well, now you're right. Common Core did come in on the state level.
Right. So
And,
my point is, they say, "Oh, it's local control. They're doing that. We're not." Unless they need them to do something,
Yeah.
then they're like, "Oh, we're in charge. You
Well,
can,
and
you can
aren't
do
they
it."
implementing these programs and finding out? Because like we're in Shelby County, Oak Mountain area, and our elementary school has the Leader in Me program.
Gotta get rid of that.
Well, I mean, for the longest time, I loved it because I love the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And this before I knew anything about, I mean, this is years ago, like 2003, 5. Anyway, when it started, now I know what it is, but aren't these local school boards implementing these things because the state mandates that so that they can meet the 123 competencies? So it's like this circular logic where they can all
That's a good
blame
point.
each other.
Well, in 2015, the State Board of Education voted down social emotional learning. But if you'll remember Tommy Bice, he was
I remember
he had a
Tommy.
lot to do with the Magic City Acceptance Academy. He signed a document with the U.S. Department of Education bringing SEL into the classrooms. That brought a lot of federal dollars. So, the State Board of Education really is not responsible for that. Now, the legislature, they are responsible. They're funding these school counselors that are teaching these programs. So a lot of that is, and I talked to one of the State Board of Education members, and she told me, she said, don't let the legislature put it on our backs. She said, it's on their backs. They're the one who are, sending the money and mandating it. So,
Where do things stand right now as far as like in the classroom? I know that they're asking about pronouns at the beginning of the year, but more than that, where do things stand with all of the transgender? Are people getting away with it? Has that been stopped? Like,
I think they're getting away with it at this point. I think it's going to take folks like us. And let me just give you a really good example of how they're trying to separate parents and children, through these social emotional learning. Teacher contacted me, 7th grade. There was a lesson. And in the lesson, they give a scenario, and then they ask the student, do you consider your parent a external or an internal roadblock? So they're, giving kids the impression that their parents are roadblocks. And that's throughout some other lessons. That's just one example for you. But there's many examples of that. I have, and I need to give this to you, I've got an analysis of the second step from an Utah Parents United. I sent it to Mountain Brook Family, so y'all may have seen it. But that has a lot of examples where parents are, looked on as a bother. They're in the way.
Right.
Go to your school counselor. Go to the school. Don't go to your parent.
Right.
There is a program that just breaks my heart called Rhythm. It's in 29 schools in Alabama. It was in a Hartselle newspaper, so it's in Hartselle. And the superintendent bragged that Rhythm, any time of the day or night, your child can get on that app, and whatever's bothering them, they can contact Rhythm. Now, I don't know who's on the other end of Rhythm that would be counseling your child, but it's not go to your parents, it's go to this app. And that's in 29 schools in Alabama. I don't know which ones. They just said 29 schools.
It's bizarre, even like in Shelby County where I live, when you're talking about with parents, my daughter who's in 8th grade this year, the beginning of the year, they do a get to know you kind of like, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite season? Okay. That's what it used to be. But one of her questions was, and these are questions that they answered over 2 days and they would talk about them in class. How's your relationship with your parents?
Really? What happened to what'd you do over the summer?
Yeah, I don't know. And what are you going to do with that information? What are you trying to find out? That is a terrifying thing. And I feel like, Biden put out on International Social Emotional Learning Day that he feels the government has a responsibility to help raise our children. And that is exactly what we're seeing happening across the country and even in Alabama. And I would almost say Alabama's worse because we hide it. We don't say it out loud like all the other, like California, what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Right,
You're
right,
so
right,
right.
They'll come out and say it.
That's a
That's
great
a good point.
That's
Yeah.
a great point.
Alabama, we're like, it's not there. It's not there. And it is.
When you've seen these groups throughout the years, I know you've seen it, Pat, these very left-leaning groups, and all of a sudden they'll have this press release that says, we're targeting Alabama.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
then it goes away, and a few years, there's another one, we're targeting Alabama because we can change Alabama. We're targeting Alabama. And then there's no follow-up, but it's all here. And a lot of us as parents don't realize it's going on. They're doing it undercover.
And it really is frustrating because if you do ask about it and you're told it's not here, it's the ultimate gaslighting.
Right. Because it is here.
It is here.
Yes.
And you have to be willing, do you not think, to push back and say, actually, no, we know that it's here. Because I think, especially with Common Core, when that first came out and you would talk to different teachers and or people who were really dialed in and loved Common Core, that they didn't want it to be here, but they'd fight you about it. And I feel like this is the same thing, that they'll fight you about, oh, no, it's not here. And then your kid's coming home saying, this is what we talked about in class today. And you think, well, that's a parent-only conversation, that we've had. Well, but that's unbelievable to me that we're still doing
But how do we get it over? How do we get over the hump?
Yeah.
How do we convince parents that, no, it is here. It is in our schools. They're brainwashing your kids. And look, let's be honest. There are a lot of Alabamians who want their kids to end up like what's on this page. That guy. That's the guy. They're fine with their kids being that guy. But a lot of them are not. How do we get to parents and say, look, this is absolutely happening? I guess this show is one way, but people still roll their eyes.
Yes,
You
they
talk
do.
to them.
They
and
roll
they're
their
like,
eyes.
no, they're not doing that at my school.
Oh,
Because
no,
some of our
we're not.
teachers or our
No.
friends help cover this up.
Yes.
And is that because they're embarrassed that it's there? Or what is it?
I'm getting frustrated because I'm like, okay, even if we wake up all the parents to realize what's going on, the people in charge of the education in Alabama just like
They just ignore us?
Yes. I mean, the whole thing that happened with Wayne Reynolds, who is the vice chairman of the State Board of Education, where on Facebook, he said, anyone that's asserting that we have CRT or these transgender ideologies in our schools needs to bring forth the evidence to myself and to the Board of Education, and we will handle it. So myself and several other people on this public post that he wrote started just very respectfully listing out like examples
Here
that
it
I had
is.
from my kids. Okay, what does he do? He deleted all the comments
That's what you do when you have the
and
power,
never
doesn't it?
responded. So like even, I mean, yes, but I guess our leadership knows this is happening.
Right.
They know.
Yeah.
Okay, so where the power does come in is that, and I think most parents think, well, I'm just one parent. Okay, well, Pat Ellis was just one parent.
Right.
Amen.
And look what you got done.
Right.
And so I think there is power in numbers and in education, but like somehow we've got to get new people elected. We've got to, it's all encompassing. But I get really frustrated because I'm like, we keep electing the same people, and Wayne Reynolds was up for reelection and he won hands down. And I'm like, he's the reason we are failing in our schools. He wrote the CRT resolution that has 0 teeth. What good is that? It's all lip service.
Right. No, I agree.
Okay, rant over.
No, it's it's very similar. I mean, I think of, and it might have been Tommy Bice. It might have been. We were doing Common Core stuff, and I was saying something about the value of classical literature and this, that, and the other. And, we don't even study Shakespeare. And we get this big thing. I think it was him. I don't want to, attribute it to him if he didn't say it. It's like, oh, no, we study Shakespeare. It makes a big deal. He's responding to what I said publicly.
Oh, no, he said that. I remember.
Then I find out that the whole study of Shakespeare that year, because I have a niece who's in the school, is literally read one page of Othello. And I'm like, that is not what I'm
No.
talking about or what any Alabamian is talking
That's
about.
not what we
But they
did.
got just enough truth to go out and say something. And not to mention Othello, if you think about it, it kind of fits into the blue guy story.
Right,
I mean, it's like
right.
one of the worst of the worst. That would be the one they'd be talking about, wouldn't he?
Yeah,
So that's just the way they do. And they know they have the power. And we, the people, are.
Well, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We're working with, Eagle Forum is working with Alliance Defending Freedom and some of our legislators. We're actually going to be meeting December 13th, and we're going to try and put an end to this madness with a couple of bills. And I met with Greg Reed, Senator Greg Reed.
Okay, good.
And I made a presentation to him, and he was very concerned. He said, Pat, you're going to have to get parents to call their legislators. And you know, Scott, we got to let legislators know this is how we want you to vote. So we're going to have to really get parents riled up. They're going to, when these bills hit the ground in Montgomery, because you know that the lobbyists are going to be down there
absolutely.
like white on rice, and they're going to be lying like they did about Channel 1. So we're just going to have
And
to.
ones that you think have nothing to do with education will be weighing in
Yeah.
like crazy to save the
Well,
blue
the
guy.
NEA and the AEA too, you know, the unions, they're all for this stuff. But you think about the money that's being made by Second Step and Panorama, that's the CRT end of it. Merrick Garland, his son-in-law, was first president of the Panorama.
Remember.
Yeah. So there's a lot of money and a lot of influence. So the parents have got to get together.
Well,
They've
I
got to
hope
speak
y'all are
up.
going for a home run. Like,
I hope so,
don't
Scott.
try to just take out parts of it. Just,
No.
just kill all the beast at one time. Big omnibus, wipe it all out. And if you don't get it all, at least you get some victories, because that's the way the legislature will do you too. If you just ask for, we just need this little, they'll figure out how to cut that in two. So we'll do our part to try to get the word out.
Well, great. We'll need
legislators,
that.
but-
And we're going to try and do some handouts like this come January
Good.
on social emotional learning, you know, so that we can have something physical to hand out to parents.
I think that'll be so helpful because when people can see it with their eyes, like we're reading it constantly, but for them to see it and go, oh,
Right. And they need to think, wait a minute, Representative so-and-so's for this? Now, you know, that's just advice for your
Right.
strategy.
Right.
Okay,
Because
good.
they
Thank
need
you.
because it needs to be straight up. You're either voting with us or you're voting for the blue guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
yes.
They don't need to be able to squirm out. And I know that some of them get uncomfortable with that, but they get uncomfortable with that because they want to vote against you. So it has to be kind of.
Yeah.
Well, do y'all know Terry Collins? Because last year she was kind of the fly in the ointment that didn't get CRT bill passed. I think it was Ed Oliver's bill that didn't pass.
Well, she was a big
So-
proponent of Common Core.
Yeah, and she's on the education committee.
I think
so.
she's the chair.
I think she's a chair.
Is she the
chairman.
chair? Okay, yeah. So she's we got to
Chairwoman.
get
be tough.
past her.
Chairperson.
Right. So you got some books and those kinds of
Well,
things.
I tell you, Scott. Now this is not in the schools as far as I know, but it's very troubling.
Okay.
These are toddler books. This is to teach them how to be racist from the time they're toddlers.
So A is not for Apple anymore.
This is A is for activists, and this was a comment
a
on
black
Amazon.
cat?
You can make sure your
black cat
precious
upside
baby
down.
adopts victim status. This was Z. Z is for Zapatista. He was a Mexican revolutionary. This is a book for toddlers.
Wait a minute.
Isn't
What
that
did
at
it?
Target?
Oh, I don't know if it's a
I feel
Target.
like
It's
I've
on
seen this
Amazon.
book. Okay,
you
well-
probably have. And then
my
this
gosh.
is Woke Baby.
Oh.
81% of Amazon reviewers gave this 5 stars. Part of the verbiage is like a good revolutionary, you never sleep. So it's indoctrination of hate for toddlers. Now this one is
Baby.
Anti-Racist Baby by Ibram X. Kendi.
Oh, my stomach.
And he makes like
Wow.
$52,000 a minute giving speeches. There's a lot of money to be made
Yeah.
in CRT. So this one, a mother of a biracial children said, I'm all about inclusion, but this book is a true abomination. So you take this from toddlerhood, then you indoctrinate them in K through 12. Then, as you may know, at the University of Alabama, Richard Delgado was in the law school there. He was a law professor, and he was one of the fathers of critical race theory. And on the website, because I thought maybe I could see the syllabus. It had critical race theory. He's no longer there. I don't know if it was when the CRT bill was being, talked about, and we were Eagle Forum was talking about having him do a debate with Carol Swain. I don't know if you're familiar with her.
right,
She's great.
That would
But
be
anyway, he's
awesome.
gone.
Let's
He and
do
his
it.
wife are gone. But think about it. If you have a child from toddlerhood through 12th grade, what kind of chip on their shoulder are these kids going to have, these black children? And the white children, it's going to be like, well, I didn't do anything wrong. We didn't have slaves.
Right.
So it's just tragic because we have come so far in this country. We have interracial marriages. You see black and white adopted, children.
right.
And it's wonderful. Just to give you a personal anecdote, am I talking too much?
No,
No,
you're
you're doing
perfect.
great.
Just to give you a personal anecdote, my 8-year-old granddaughter was having a birthday party. Well, she just wanted small. She wanted 3 of her close friends to go to the park and have cake and play.
Right.
So the 3 friends get out of the car. 2 of them are black and one of them's white. And I thought to myself, if those mothers had raised those children on these books, there wouldn't be a little birthday party like that.
Right.
So they're planting a seed in kids to hate one another. And it's terrible. It's the adults that are doing this. The kids, they're getting along.
It really is sad, and I don't think people realize how destructive books like that are.
Yeah.
And but I mean, you think about it, all the traditional Christian value kind of things, we talk about them every week. Those were expunged from the schools.
Right.
I mean, remember you couldn't have prayer in school. You definitely couldn't read the Bible in school. Those sorts of things. You can't have the 10 Commandments on the wall, but you can have these kinds of things. So they've just taken one set of morality and thrown it in the trash, and it's this new woke morality,
Yeah.
and they are just driving it into kids' minds, and we're just going, well, as long as it's not religious.
Yeah.
And they have all the money. We're all nonprofits that, I'm a volunteer.
Right.
We're all volunteers in
Right.
Eagle Forum, except for Becky Garrettson, who's our executive director. But these people, they have tons of money to push this stuff. And that's why I worry about the lobbyists descending on Montgomery.
Right. No, I agree completely.
Well, and the BCA is going to be all over this, and they have been, because it affects businesses coming here. What you're perceived in your schools and what's being taught and what you ban and don't. And I do just want to be clear: those books are not in schools that
Not
you
that
know
I
of.
know of.
But the concepts is what is coming down through the CRT, the SEL, and all that. But yeah, and some of the pornography and the explicit, a lot of the transgender stuff. I mean, I've talked about this several times, but at my high school, there was outside the counselor's office, we had a transgender services flyer that kids could just walk by, and they could just pick up this flyer, and it would tell them where to go to change their name and talk about sex hormones and do all that. And no conversation with the counselor necessary. You just pick it right up, and
know
it's
that.
just insane what is going on. And I don't know if y'all saw the superintendent from Selma, who, okay, you must have read it too.
I've not seen it. What?
Okay, so the high schooler that overdosed and died, do you
Yes.
remember recently? And then 3 also overdosed.
Yes.
I think they were okay. In the Selma area high school, the superintendent and the mayor held a press conference after that. And man, they spoke some truth, basically saying that the schools were not equipped to handle the emotional baggage, the emotional load that they are being called on to carry, that the teachers are tired, these kids are screaming for help, and that these schools cannot handle the social emotional learning that they want. And now these kids are falling into drugs and basically called on the family. Like, we need parents to be parents, and we need the families to come together. I mean, it was a great, I'll have to look for it, but it's going to take,
But isn't that the argument that these folks are making? Is that we need counselors, we need these services, we need these people so that we can save these kids that are struggling. When I would argue that some of these kids are struggling because they learned the
right.
stuff that caused them to struggle
Right.
at the
Right.
school.
Yeah.
Well, they don't get a break. Like, if you're having issues at home, or you're having, whatever's just going on, it used to, you could go to school and you could have kind of a break. Like you
Okay,
could,
you might be getting away from
You-
home, or you go home to get away from school.
right. And you had some sort of break in the day of your heaviness and the thoughtfulness that comes on of always self-analyzing. I mean,
Yeah.
this is what they're doing. These kids, they're having counseling in the middle of math, and it's like you never get a break from the overthinking. And then you get on social media and you're judging yourself, and you're thinking, well, no wonder we're all depressed. All of our kids have anxiety and are turning to drugs. And so the thing is, this school was never intended to, I say that, if you look back, I feel like this was the plan, the maniacal plan all along.
Well,
But, from a structure of the world, it's the family. And we've
Right.
got to get back to families coming together and parents parenting. But yeah, these poor kids, they're just always having to analyze themselves. That's
Exactly.
miserable.
Well, let me give you one example that goes along with that. In Montgomery County, Maryland, 582% increase in the past 2 years of students that say they're gender nonconforming. Well, I don't know what it is in Alabama, but I don't think it's that much. But I bet it's up there because they are being fed this transgender stuff and this gender fluidity stuff, and it's all coming through this the School Counselor Association plan. And I saw that you had the campaign for courage. Or,
Yes. Courage is called
courage.
I've got it right
Yeah.
here. Well, we don't even have to think
Courage
about it.
is
Courage
a
is a
habit.
habit.
And they have really uncovered, they've done like a Project Veritas thing in the ASCA
Yes.
when they go to their summits or conferences or whatever and done videos. And they are very explicit about how they support gender fluidity. And that's what's going on. These kids are confused.
Right.
They're young.
Well, you have a middle
you know,
school kid doesn't
yeah.
know
And if
light
you,
from dark,
if-
and they're confused,
Right.
and their bodies are changing, and they say, "Well, if you're confused, if you're normal, you really probably are transgender. If you're facing all the normal unsureities."
Oh,
that a
okay, I
kid-
see what
know
you're
what I'm
saying. Yeah,
They're
I see what you're
if
saying.
you're
Yeah.
having these symptoms,
Now it
which we used to
means-
say that's normal teenager
Yeah.
puberty kind of thing, you're probably transgender.
And Allison, you had a great thing on your local Alabama in March, and you talked about that. You talked about a student going to a counselor, and instead of bringing the parent in, just affirming that child was gay.
Yes.
Do you remember that? I've used that.
That was the
reference.
most egregious, I think, where this child was being bullied, and he went and spoke to a counselor. Something happened in a PE class. It got physical, and so he went and spoke to his counselor, and said that he was being bullied because he was gay. And the counselor, who has a gay brother, pulls the picture down off her wall of her brother and his partner and tells this child, "It's okay if you are gay. Like, you just need to be loud and proud. And this is my brother. And you just need to come out, and this kid's a 6th grader. And just, be proud." And I'm like, and the only reason the parent found out is because she worked in the school and she happened to go by. And actually the counselor told the parent that she had said that to the child. But it's like, she would have never known if, and what's that 6th grade boy supposed to do who's, questioning, okay, am I gay? Everybody's telling me I'm gay. Well, maybe I am gay. It's kind of like what you're saying. Maybe I do have problems. Or maybe I'm just, and then you're somebody that you look up to, that you go to, that's a professional.
Right.
Is like, just be loud and proud. I mean, it was insane. And again, this is not we're not in San Francisco. We're not in Portland, Oregon, even though they have great coffee shops.
They really do. Yes. they're
This is
delicious
Shelby
coffee.
County, Oak Mountain schools.
Right.
So it's here, people, and it is everywhere. I don't even care if you're in Gardendale. It's there. Sorry.
It's true. And I think that, we've talked about this book by Malcolm Gladwell before, Talking with Strangers. And our instinct is to believe the best about other people. That's our instinct. And I think so often as a Christ follower, we can take that too far, where the Lord says to consider others before yourself. So we're constantly thinking, oh, they must know better than I do.
Right.
And so I think we're giving ourselves, permission to just not care as much as we should.
Right.
When we know better, and we have to not only know better, but we have to do better. And I think that's why the Lord, especially in this situation and circumstance, calls us to be wise as serpents and gentle as doves. We've got to be shrewd. We're here right now, and we're the ones that will have to go and have those conversations with the counselors. And we are going to have those hard conversations with our kids and with the teachers, and constantly tell them, we know this is here.
Right.
And that's
Right.
hard because people hate confrontation. And they
Well,
don't
we're
want to be
facing
the
the
one
experts, too.
to say, this is weird. Like, it's weird that was in the school office, even though y'all promise everything's great at school. But that was weird. Can you help me understand why that was behind the door for a kid to take? And then you're telling me it's not? Stuff like that.
Right.
It's hard to do. Nobody wants to do it. But as we have learned, it can be done.
Right.
And that's what's encouraging about this conversation today. It can be done.
It can be done.
But we have to do it across the state, because we can't anymore say, well, it's just, weird stuff's happening in North Alabama, right? It was kind of out there, and my husband's growing up middle school, and it's happening in Muscle Shoals, where we love that town. But it's there, and we can't, the more they say it's not, me think they doth protest too much. Oh, it's not here. Yes, it is.
Right.
And we got to do something about it.
And we have to be unafraid to say, I don't really care what the experts say. I've about had it to hear with y'all and your experts.
That's right. And how often do we tell our kids, if you're the only one, be the only one?
Right.
That goes for us too.
Mm-hmm.
If we expect them to do it, we got to do it.
I agree.
You know?
And realize we're saving our kids. We're protecting our kids. By going with traditional Western civilization's values that have served us so well for centuries,
Yes.
we should stand for that.
That's
and
right.
like I said, I don't really care what the experts say. The experts, I mean, you and I, we all know
They've
experts.
been wrong.
They have been crazy. They're back crap crazy wrong half the time.
Unfortunately, it's embedded in a lot of things too. There's a group in South Alabama doing a great job looking at Studies Weekly, which is a handout that a lot of schools use.
Yeah.
Scholastic
Studies
Junior,
Weekly.
Studies Weekly.
Is that the old weekly reader?
Yes. The
It is?
little-
Oh,
Okay.
my.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Don't
they've
come
done
after
a-
my weekly reader.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
Well, it's got problems now. And they've done a huge review. They sent it to Dr. Mackey, and they're waiting to hear back from him.
Mm-hmm.
And I can send that to you if y'all
that'd be
want to
great.
read that. And then Scholastic Junior, a father was complaining that he read a story in there, an article that said the United States was systemically racist. So that's another handout. So, it's the literature, it's the video, a lot of videos you probably never, or maybe you've heard of Flocabulary, because it was Shelby County Mother that brought it to my attention. Flocabulary is a video that they use in the schools to help with vocabulary. And they have videos. There was one about old dead white men. That was our founding fathers, by the way. Are you familiar with that?
No.
Yeah.
But that's awful.
Yeah.
Old dead white man.
So there's Amplify CKLA, which is a reading program that a father brought to our attention. There's Benchmark, which is a reading program, and I think it's in Mountain Brook, which has a lot of that anti-American,
they just doubled down, didn't they? Mountain
propaganda.
Brook's all in. They're like all
Mountain
in.
Brook's kind of.
They're all in. They're all in for it.
Well, I
Blue
wondered,
guy.
about Second Step, because the parents tried. Some of them tried to fight back.
Yeah.
On Second Step, is it still there?
No, it's gone.
Oh, it is gone.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
They were
Really?
successful.
They
enough.
got rid of that one?
Yeah.
Okay,
Parents
good.
No,
standing
they got
up.
it out.
Yeah, and they got rid of No Place for Hate too. The
Yes,
CRT.
they did.
I say that.
good.
I might be lying.
Oh.
Not purposefully.
How about just mistaken? Can we go
I
mistaken?
might be. Well, I mean, is there a difference? I didn't mean to. I'm going to check on
I know
that.
No Place for Hate is gone.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I thought Second Step. Okay.
Still
I'll
in?
check on that.
Good
Good.
deal.
The video that I did for 1819 yesterday was about Biden trying to get use taxpayer funding for transgender reassignment surgeries in minors, and that's now the new push. And so I guess as you were talking, I don't know what you're saying, Scott, you're saying something. And it just triggered in me that this is kind of why it is everywhere, is because it's everywhere. It's America now.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look and our president is advocating for these things, you really can't hide from it. And so I don't know, it seems overwhelming, but I think we still have to fight. We still have to bring these things to light. We still have to speak truth, which is what we talk about all the time. But it is a different America. It's a different world.
Mm-hmm.
And I started laughing the other day. I was like, what if you went to some remote tribe in Mexico and told them about furries?
Oh,
What would they think of you?
Oh,
You
my
think they
word.
have furries? No, I mean, we've lost our minds. We are in a
Yes.
weird place, but you still fight back. And so I guess I don't even know what time it is. Are we running out of time?
We're
2
we're
minutes.
good.
Okay.
We're good.
But Pat, if people want to do something, how can they help you?
Yes.
How can they get involved? Where do they go?
well, thank you for asking. One thing, you got to go to the schools and find out about the comprehensive sex education that your child is being taught. We didn't really get to that.
We need to. We have a couple
That's
minutes.
really,
tell
really
us about
good.
that. That'll,
please.
that'll,
Well,
that'll make me happy before we leave.
Well,
It shouldn't.
no, it's not. I mean,
Okay.
it's just sarcasm.
Okay. I'm like, that's weird.
They don't have sarcasm
Okay.
down 280.
there are
Sarcasm.
several programs.
Across the Cahaba.
The Alabama Department of Public Health has given the money to certain schools and youth organizations to teach really it's how to have sex. They have things like how to make a dental dam out of a condom, which I'd never heard of that before.
What's a dental dam?
Well,
If you're
Amy
a
Beth.
gay person, you will know what a dental dam is.
I don't know either.
Well, they teach.
Don't look it up.
They teach about heterosexual and homosexual sex.
Okay.
It's really it's a how-to guide to have sex. They get around it by saying they teach abstinence because they'll say, well, we also include the only way to get pregnant is through intercourse. But they teach them all kinds of ways to have sex.
To do everything but.
Everything but. I'm telling you everything.
It's a dental dam.
And Craig Munger with 1819 News tried to find out from the Alabama Department of Public Health what schools are these programs in, or youth organizations. They didn't let him know. Mike Holmes trying to find out. They wouldn't let him know.
Mike's a legislator.
A legislator.
Yeah, Mike's a legislator. Jim Metrock that did the with obligation, he has called and stayed on that. They wouldn't let him know. And I wrote the Attorney General's office and I got a letter back. And the letter, what they did was they turned my complaint over to the Alabama Department of Public Health. Instead of finding
For the
out.
love of all that's good and holy.
So listen, if you guys can use your influence, and I'll send you I did that article for 1819 News.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, pornography in Alabama schools.
Which
You be
is
the
so
judge.
good.
Yeah. So if you guys can find out what schools and youth organizations, what children are being exposed to this,
Right.
it breaks my heart. I mean, if it was my child, I tell you, I would be in counseling myself.
Yeah.
Listen, so that's what our audience would be great at is if any of y'all know,
Could figure that
please, like we need to go find out.
out. I'm trying to
It's
figure out.
vile. It's been around for a long time, but they have grown more and more bold in what they do and what they teach.
You and I have a different question. You got
I mean,
yours.
I'm-
I'm just trying to figure out
I'm
how
still
did
stuck on
how
dental
did,
Don't look it up.
How did how
And
did
why does
we can't look it up together either, can we?
Nope.
Okay.
I don't think you'd
All
want to.
I'm not
You
looking it
don't
up.
wanna know.
I'm trying to figure out how mankind was able to populate the earth before
Yes.
they taught sex education in schools.
I know it seems so.
I'm serious.
So,
It's
I mean,
almost
such a
like people were
basic
able to
question.
figure it out
Yeah.
without their help.
I know. Darn it.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Thank you. Can you say that again?
No, that was one time.
Well, you know, you asked what people could do.
Yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
sorry, that was
Yeah,
where we
yeah, yeah.
started.
Well, sign up, for our alerts, Eagle Forum alerts.
Okay.
Go to our website. Oh, Local Alabama, they do a great job too. Get with Local Alabama. When we send out our alerts, we'll be telling you when these when the legislation's coming down the pike and when you need to call
Yes.
your representative and your state senator. But be informed. Go to the schools.
Right.
Ask to see. You want to see it. And if they say no for whatever reason, tell them there is a federal law. The Protection of Pupil Rights Amendment says that parents can see anything, parents and guardians, that a child sees. And we
okay.
have on our website, we have Empowering Parents, and it has that legislation. You can take it to the school and say, hey, this is a
I need
federal
to
law
see
you're
these.
breaking. The gentleman from ARAB that they're having a problem with the Amplify CKLA reading program. I told him, I said, if you have an attorney friend, get him to write a letter on letterhead and to cite this law, this PPR, Protection of Pupil Rights Amendment. But parents, you got to get engaged. You got to get involved because it's the future of our country too.
Well,
this-
and that was the point I was going to make a minute ago. We were talking about, the parents and the home and the school and the kids being so stressed. Well, all those parents at our school, they went through this version that Pat fought in '94. So they grew up as adults, and now they're the parents of the kids who are getting the next dose, and so it's kind of compounding the problem.
You're
Yeah.
exactly right.
Yep.
Twice.
Dang it! I didn't mean to say that.
Gracious! It's time to stop the program.
Oh, it's time's up. Okay,
Pat,
go.
thank you so much for being with us today, and we apologize for our, our
I had
childishness at
fun.
times. But we're
Antics.
glad you were here, and you're doing great work. Thank you
Well,
so much,
thank
and
you.
hopefully people will go check out the Eagle Forum website. Is it called Eagle?
Well, they just go to the browser, Eagle Forum of Alabama, or
Okay.
alabamaeagle.org is the website.
alabamaeagle.org.
But thank
I'll
you
get it
for
in
what
the
you
show
folks are doing, really. And I got a lot from Local Alabama, that March, SEL. I used that in my
Yes,
presentation.
yeah.
Right.
So,
I want to have you come speak at one of our
great.
meetings.
Love
so I'll
to.
get with you on that.
okay, I'd love to.
Good. Amy Beth?
I will make sure that these notes are available to
Can
our
we put
great
Blue Man?
audience. We're going to put Blue Man in. I'm also going to include some of the Courage is a Habit, because that also has some of the snippets of the talks that are given at the Association of School Counselors, so that when people are told that's not happening, no, we're actually associated with them. So it's on there for people to see with their own eyeballs as well.
Very good.
Knowledge
Great.
is power.
Ladies, thank y'all very much. We appreciate you watching Alabama Unfiltered. And don't forget to go to all the usual places. Give us a thumbs up, 5 stars. Tell all your friends and family, people you like, people you don't like, your loved ones, even the people you see at Christmas holidays. I heard I had a guy one time, he said, he was a legislator. No, it's a real story.
Okay,
He
you're
said
making stuff up.
The problem with the holidays was he had to spend time with his friends and family, not the people he loved.
Oh, that's awful.
Now you know why we're so
That's
warped.
totally true. I totally think that's true. It
Anyway.
is. We're going to
You
talk
can
a lot
identify
of
with that.
politics this holidays too.
Yeah.
But anyway, we can win. We just got to fight it out. Thanks for watching. See y'all.